The locker room door clicked shut behind them like the final note of a confession too long buried, sealing Martin and Coach Elias in a hush that pressed against his chest heavier than any game day roar. Martin's heart hammered not from the sprint drills they had just run, but from the way Elias leaned against the lockers, his broad shoulders slumping under the weight of secrets etched into the lines around his steel-gray eyes. In that suspended breath, before words could fracture the silence, Elias whispered, "You're the only one I've trusted enough to let see this," and Martin's world tilted, the air thick with the scent of sweat and something far more dangerous unspoken desire. Martin wiped the sweat from his brow with the hem of his jersey, the fabric sticking to his skin like a second layer of doubt. At 19, he was all lean muscle and restless energy, the kind that propelled him across the court at Seattle Community College, dodging defenders with a grace that masked the chaos inside. Seattle suited him, that endless drizzle mirroring the gray haze of his thoughts, the Space Needle a distant spike against skies that promised clarity but delivered only fog. He had moved here from a nowhere town in eastern Washington 2 years back, chasing a basketball scholarship and something else he couldn't name, a freedom from the sidelong glances back home, the whispers that followed him like shadows after his high school coming out that wasn't quite out at all. His teammates called him Marty the Ghost for how he slipped through practices unnoticed until he exploded for a layup, but they didn't see the nights he lay awake in his cramped off-campus apartment, scrolling through Grindr profiles he never messaged, wondering if desire was just another word for loneliness. Coach Elias Hawthorne was the anchor in that storm. At 35, he cut a figure that commanded the gym without raising his voice tall, with a build honed from years of playing semi-pro before a knee injury sidelined him to coaching. His dark hair was cropped close, threaded with silver at the temples, and his face held the rugged planes of a man who had stared down too many losses. He wore his authority like his whistle, loose around the neck, but his eyes, those piercing grays, held stories Martin ached to unravel. Elias had taken over the team last season, turning a ragtag group of community college kids into contenders for the regional playoffs. He saw potential in Martin from day one, pulling him aside after tryouts with a firm hand on his shoulder. "You move like you've got fire in your veins, kid. Don't let it burn you out." That touch lingered longer than it should have, a spark Martin replayed in the quiet hours. Practice that Friday had been brutal, the kind that left legs like jelly and lungs raw under the gym's harsh fluorescence. Rain pattered against the high windows, a Seattle symphony that blurred the line between inside and out. The team had filed out one by one, slapping Martin's back with jokes about grabbing beers at the Pike Place dive. But he hung back, towel draped over his shoulders, watching Elias stack cones in the corner. It was routine by now, these post-practice moments where Martin lingered, offering to help with the grunt work, stealing glances at the way Elias' shirt clung to his back, the flecks of forearms roped with veins. Tonight felt different, though the air hummed with unspoken tension, like the pause before a fast break. "Hey, Coach," Martin called, his voice steadier than he felt. "Need a hand with that?" Elias straightened, wiping his hands on his track pants, the motion drawing Martin's eyes to the V of his collarbone, shadowed and inviting. His smile was tired, edges frayed. "Yeah, Marty." Grabbed the other end of the rack. They'd worked in sync before, but as their fingers brushed lifting the heavy metal frame, Elias flinched almost imperceptibly, his gaze flicking to the door. The last echoes of teammates' laughter faded down the hall, and then it was just them, the click of the lock echoing like a verdict. Martin set the rack down, heart thudding. "What's up? You look like you've been carrying the whole damn playbook in your head." Elias leaned against the wall, crossing his arms as if to hold himself together. The locker room smelled of rubber mats and lingering Axe body spray, a masculine haze that suddenly felt intimate, claustrophobic. He rubbed the back of his neck, a gesture Martin had come to recognize as the prelude to vulnerability. "There's nothing you need to worry about, just life off the court piling up." But Martin did worry. Had seen the shadows under Elias' eyes deepen over the weeks, the way his coaching sharpened into something edged with desperation. Rumors swirled in the team chat, cryptic texts about Elias missing a boosters meeting, showing up late with bruises on his knuckles that he brushed off as boxing. Martin had pieced together fragments. Elias was divorced, no kids, lived alone in a Queen and walk-up overlooking the Sound. No family photos in his office, just faded championship banners from his playing days. It painted a portrait of isolation that mirrored Martin's own. Two souls adrift in the same rainy city. Tell me, Martin pressed, stepping closer, the space between them shrinking to the width of a dribble. I'm not just some kid on the roster. You know that. Elias met his gaze then, and the weight in those gray eyes nearly buckled Martin's knees. It was more than fatigue, there was hunger, raw and unguarded, the kind that stripped pretense away. All right, he said finally, voice low as the rain outside. But this stays here. Door closed, remember? Martin nodded, throat tight, as Elias began to unravel. It started small, the divorce 2 years back, ugly and public in their small Montana hometown where he had coached high school before Seattle called. Had loved her once, or thought he did, but the truth had clawed its way out during a fight. Words like gay and confused hurled like accusations. Shed taken everything, the house, the dog, his reputation. Head fled west, rebuilding in this liberal bubble of coffee shops and pride flags. But the fear lingered. What if the boosters found out? What if the team turned? Coaching was his lifeline, the court his confessional. Martin listened, perched on a bench, the wood cool against his thighs. Each revelation landed like a pass. He couldn't quite catch Elias' voice cracking on the night. He sat alone in his car outside a bar on Capitol Hill, watching men spill out laughing, touching, free in ways he envied. I thought Seattle would fix me, Elias admitted, but it's just another cage if you're hiding. The vulnerability hit Martin like a screen set too hard. Head hidden to his family back home, pretending his weekend trips to the city were just for games. His hookups fleeting and faceless in the dark. But Elias was real, flesh and bone and quiet strength. Before he could stop himself, Martin reached out, his hand covering Elias on the bench. It's not hiding if you let someone in. Elias stilled, breath catching, then turned his palm up, fingers lacing with Martin's in a grip that trembled with restraint. The touch ignited something primal, a current that arced between them, warming the chill air. For a moment they sat like that, hands clasped, the world reduced to the rhythm of their breathing sinking like a two-man drill. Then Elias leaned in, slow as a fadeaway, his lips brushing Martin's temple, not a kiss, but a promise. Thank you, he murmured, the words ghosting hot against skin. Martin pulled back just enough to search his face, pulse roaring in his ears. The locker room felt alive now, shadows lengthening as the afternoon light waned, casting Elias in gold that softened the hard lines of his jaw. What are we doing here, coach? Elias' smile was bittersweet, thumb tracing circles on Martin's knuckles. Starting over, maybe, with someone who sees me. They talked until the rain eased, voices weaving through the emptying gym. Martin shared his own fragments, the father who called less since the coming out letter, the mother who sent care packages with Bible verses tucked in. Elias listened with the intensity he brought to film sessions, nodding, his free hand occasionally squeezing Martin's shoulder. It was catharsis, a locker room confessional where shame molted away like old tape. As they finally stood, Elias unlocked the door, the click a release. Walk with me to my car? He asked, casual but loaded. Martin grinned, adrenaline buzzing. Yeah. ID like that. Outside, the Seattle dusk wrapped around them, streetlights flickering on like hesitant stars. They walked side by side, shoulders brushing, the city's hum a backdrop to the tentative bridge they had built. Martin didn't know where it led, but for the first time, the path felt solid under his feet, not a sprint, but a steady jog toward something real. That night, in his apartment overlooking the bustling university district, Martin lay awake, replaying the touch, the whisper. His phone buzzed, a text from Elias. Thanks for staying. Means more than you know. Martin typed back, anytime, then deleted it, settling on, see you at practice. But as he drifted off, the dream that came was vivid, Elias pulling him close in the rain-slicked parking lot, mouths meeting in a clash of need, hands mapping uncharted territory. The next morning, practice dawned crisp, the gym echoing with sneakers squeaking on polished wood. Martin arrived early, lacing up beside his teammate Jax, a lanky kid from Portland with a laugh like thunder. Dude, you were a zombie yesterday, Jax ribbed, tossing him a ball. Late night? Martin caught it, spinning it on his finger to hide the flush. Something like that. He scanned the court, heart skipping when Elias strode in, clipboard in hand, his stride purposeful but his eyes finding Martin's across the space, holding just a beat too long. Warm-ups blurred into drills. Elias barked crisp but laced with an undercurrent. Only Martin caught a warmth in the way he corrected his form, hands lingering on his hips to adjust stance. Good extension, Marty. Keep that fire. The praise sent heat pooling low, and Martin pushed harder, leaping for a rebound that left him breathless. After, as the team cooled down, Elias called him over by the water cooler. Quick word. His voice was neutral, but the tilt of his head said more. In the hallway, away from prying eyes, Elias leaned close, scent of cedar cologne cutting through the sweat. Dinner tonight? My place. Nothing fancy, just pasta and talking. Martin's pulse thrummed. Yeah. Text me the address. The evening unfolded like a slow reveal. Elias' apartment in Queen and was modest, bookshelves crammed with dog-eared paperbacks on leadership and faded photos of college teammates. A view of the Sound glittering under city lights. He cooked with easy competence, sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms dusted with dark hair. They ate on the couch, plates balanced on knees, conversation flowing from basketball philosophies to the ache of reinvention. You ever feel like you're playing a role? Elias asked, wine glass midway to his lips. All the time, Martin admitted, fork twirling noodles. On the court, with friends. Like if I drop the ball, it's not just the game I lose. Elias set his plate aside, shifting closer. Then don't drop it alone. The kiss happened then, inevitable as gravity. Elias' hand cupped Martin's jaw, thumb tracing the curve, and their mouths met soft at first, exploratory, then deepening with the pent-up force of hidden glances. Martin tasted salt and wine, Elias' stubble rasping against his skin, a contrast that grounded him in the moment. They moved together, tentative then urgent, shirts shedding like doubts, bodies pressing on the couch in a tangle of limbs and whispered names. It was Martin's first time feeling truly seen, Elias' hands mapping him with reverence, murmurs of "you're beautiful" breaking the rhythm. They crested slow, a wave building to crash, leaving them spent and entwined, breaths mingling in the dim lamplight. After, as they lay there, Elias traced patterns on Martin's chest. This scares me, he confessed. But God, it's worth it. Martin smiled into the dark, fingers in Elias' hair. Me too. The weeks that followed were a stolen symphony, practices laced with charged looks, late-night drives to hidden viewpoints along the waterfront, where they parked and talked until fog rolled in. Martin bloomed under it, his game sharpening, confidence spilling into classes and coffee runs with Jax, who noticed but chalked it up to a hot streak. But secrets have seams, and theirs began to fray at the edges. A missed call from Elias during a team film session, his phone buzzing with a number Martin didn't recognize. The way Elias tensed when a booster clapped his back too hard at the next home game, eyes darting to the stands where alumni mingled. Martin pushed it down. Lost in the romance, the notes slipped into his locker, the way Elias said his name like a prayer. But doubt whispered in the quiet moments, a shadow on the court. The betrayal came not with thunder, but the soft patter of rain on the arena roof, a sound Martin had once found soothing but now heard as a dirge. It was mid-November, the leaves long gone from the maples lining the Seattle streets, the city hunkering down into its winter gray. Their rhythm had settled into something dangerously comfortable. Stolen hours in Elias' apartment, where the world outside faded to the hum of ferries on the Sound. Martin would arrive after dark, backpack slung over one shoulder like a shield, and Elias would greet him at the door with a kiss that tasted of home-cooked meals and quiet affirmations. They talked dreams, Martin's hazy plans for a transfer to UW. Elias buried hopes of writing a coaching memoir and made love with the urgency of men who knew time was borrowed. But cracks spiderwebbed beneath the surface. Elias' phone would light up during their evenings, silenced but insistent, and head step onto the balcony, voice low into the night. Martin pretended not to notice, curling into the couch with a beer, but the questions gnawed. Who was the voice on the other end, laced with familiarity? Why did Elias flinch at mentions of his past, changing the subject to Martin's jump shot or the latest Mariners slump? The team was riding high, undefeated in conference play, and the buzz around campus felt electric. Jax pulled Martin aside after a win against Portland CC, slapping a cold one into his hand in the student union. Bro, you're glowing. What's the secret? New girl? Martin laughed it off, sipping the foam. Just ballin', man. But inside, guilt twisted like a bad ankle. He wanted to tell Jax everything the way Elias made him feel anchored, desired, whole, but the words stuck, heavy with the fear of fracture. That Thursday practice ended early, the flu sidelining half the bench. Martin lingered as usual, wiping down the scoreboard while Elias locked up the equipment room. Their eyes met across the gym, a silent invitation, but Elias' face was drawn, shadows under his eyes like bruises. Rough night? Martin asked, crossing to him, hand brushing his arm. Elias nodded, forcing a smile that didn't reach. Yeah. Come over later? They'll make it up to you. Martin arrived at 7, the rain sheeting the windows like tears. Elias opened the door in sweats, hair tousled, and pulled him inside with a kiss that bordered on desperate. They barely made it to the bedroom, clothes shedding in a trail, bodies colliding with a need that spoke of unspoken storms. Afterward, tangled in sheets, Martin traced the scar on Elias' ribs, a remnant from his playing days, and ventured the question. Those calls. You can tell me, you know. Elias stilled, then rolled away, sitting up with his back to Martin, shoulders rigid. It's nothing. Old friend from back home. The lie hung there, thin as mist. Martin sat up too, sheets pooling at his waist. Don't. We're past that. Elias turned, gray eyes stormy. Fine. It's my ex-wife, Tara. She's persistent, wants to talk reconciliation or at least closure. Says she's sorry for how it ended. The words landed like a charge block, stealing Martin's breath. Ex-wife. The divorce stories had been vague, stripped of names, but this was flesh. And the undertone in Elias' voice wasn't just regret. It was longing, a tether to a life Martin couldn't touch. You still love her? He asked, voice small. Elias reached for him, but Martin pulled back. It's complicated, Marty. She was my first everything. But that was before I knew myself. Martin dressed in silence, the rain mocking him through the glass. He wanted to believe it, but the seed of doubt had taken root. On the drive home, wipers slashing the downpour, he blasted the radio, some indie track about fractured hearts, and wondered if this was how it started the slow erosion of trust. The weekend brought a road trip to Eugene, Oregon. The bus rumbling south through evergreens heavy with mist. Martin sat near the back, headphones in, stealing glances at Elias up front, clipboard on knee, chatting with the driver. Jax slid in beside him, offering chips. You okay, Ghost? Look like you saw a phantom. Martin forced a grin. Just tired. But Jax's eyes narrowed, perceptive as ever. Bill, it's that coach vibe, isn't it? The way he lights up around you. Heat flooded Martin's cheeks. What? No. Jax chuckled, low. Come on. I see it. And hey, if it's more than bro stuff, I got you. Portland pride, remember? My cousins run the bar scene there. The confession hovered, but Martin swallowed it. Thanks, man. Means a lot. The game was a grinder, Oregon pressing hard, but Martin's fire carried them. A buzzer-beater 3 sealing the win. In the locker room, euphoria rained high fives and Gatorade showers, but Elias' pull-aside was brief. A clapped shoulder and murmured good game under the roar. No stolen touch, no heat in the gaze. Martin chalked it up to the crowd, but the distance lingered on the bus ride back. Elias buried in his phone. Sunday morning, Martin woke to a text. Need space today. Family stuff. Talk soon. The words blurred, and he tossed his phone, pacing the apartment that suddenly felt too empty. He called his mom back home, the line crackling with distance. Sounds heavy, hon? She said, voice warm but edged with worry. Remember, love doesn't hide. It stands. Her words echoed as he wandered the U District, coffee in hand, dodging hipsters and joggers. Seattle pulsed around him, farmers markets hawking artisanal cheeses, street musicians strumming covers of Fleetwood Mac, but he felt untethered, adrift in the crowd. By evening, doubt had bloomed into resolve. He showed up at Elias' apartment unannounced, heart in throat. Elias answered in a robe, surprise flickering to guilt. "Marty," I said. "I know what you said," Martin cut in, stepping inside. "But we're doing this. Or not. Which is it?" Elias closed the door, leaning against it. Tara called again. "She's in town for work. Wants to meet, clear the air." The air thickened. "And you want to go?" Elias nodded, weary. "For me, not her. To end it proper. You deserve that truth." Martin searched his face, seeing the man beneath the coach, the vulnerability that had drawn him in. "Okay, but after, it's us or nothing." They kissed then, fierce and forgiving, a reaffirmation. Elias' hands framed his face. Always. Monday practice was charged. Martin's shots swishing clean, Elias' whistle sharp but eyes soft. But whispers started that night in the team group chat, a screenshot from an anonymous account. Elias at a downtown cafe with a woman, arms around her in what looked like an embrace. The caption, "Coach playing both sides?" Martin stared at his screen in the dark, stomach churning. Jax texted privately, "Ignore the noise." But Martin's mind raced. Tara? Or worse. He confronted Elias after, in the parking lot, rain slicking the asphalt. "Is that her?" "The photo." Elias paled. "Yeah. Coffee. Nothing more." But the seed had sprouted vines, jealousy coiling tight. Martin drove home silent, the city lights blurring into accusations. The fracture widened midweek. Another practice, another win, but post-game, the boosters pulled Elias into a side room, voices muffled but tense. Martin waited outside, eavesdropping fragments. Reputation, discretion, donors pulling back. When Elias emerged, face ashen, he waved Martin off. Not now. But now was all they had. That night, at Elias' place, the fight erupted. "You're ashamed," Martin accused, pacing the living room. "Of us. Of me." Elias slammed his fist on the counter. Not hard, but enough to rattle mugs. "I'm protecting us. You think this town is paradise? One wrong word and I'm done. You're done." The words stung like a technical foul. Martin grabbed his jacket. "Then go back to her. Play safe." He stormed out into the downpour, hail mixing with tears he wouldn't admit. The bus ride home was agony, city blocks crawling by, each one a mile marker of regret. Days blurred into avoidance. Practice became mechanical, Martin's passes crisp, but his heart checked out. Elias coached from afar, eyes avoiding, but the tension crackled like static. Jax cornered him in the weight room. "What's with you two? It's killing the vibe." Martin shrugged. "Life." But life pressed in. His grades slipped, a paper on American Lit returned with red ink scrawls. At night, he scrolled old photos. Elias at a team barbecue, arms slung casual over his shoulders, smile genuine. The ache was physical, a hollow in his chest. Then the bomb dropped Friday, pregame against Tacoma. Anonymous email to the team. Coach Hawthorne's secret life exposed. Links to a blog post, grainy photos of Elias at a Capitol Hill club, hand in hand with a man not Martin, dated months back. The narrative spun vicious, predatory coach preying on players. "Protect our boys." The locker room exploded, whispers turning to shouts. Jax defended, voice rising. "This is bullshit. He's solid." But doubt spread like flu. A freshman bailed early, citing family. Elias addressed them pre-tip, voice steady. "Personal lives are personal. Focus on the game." They won, but the victory tasted ash. Martin scored 20, but each bucket was hollow. Post-game, Elias pulled him into the coach's office, door ajar. "We need to talk. For real." Martin leaned against the desk, arms crossed. "About the blog? Or the fact you're still seeing her?" Elias recoiled. "What? No. The photos. They're old. A one-night thing before us. I swear." But Martin's trust was threadbare. "Then why the lies?" The space? Elias stepped close, desperation raw. Because I love you, damn it. And it's terrifying. The words hung, a lifeline or noose. Martin wanted to grab it, but betrayal had armored him. Prove it. End it with her. Publicly. Elias nodded. Fierce. I will. Tomorrow. But tomorrow brought storm clouds, literal and not. Rain lashed the city as Martin waited for the call that came not from Elias, but Jack's. Emergency. Elias in the hospital. Car accident. Tara was driving. The world tilted again, guilt crashing in. Martin raced to Swedish medical, hallways blurring, heart in throat. In the waiting room, Tara sat composed, brunette hair pulled back, eyes red but dry. You must be Martin, she said, extending a hand. He told me about you. The handshake was cool, her grip firm. Told you? She nodded, sad smile. Over coffee. He's choosing you. We were just saying goodbye. Relief ward with nausea. Then the accident. Drunk driver. Elias swerved, but she braked too late. He's stable. Broken ribs. Concussion. Martin sank into a chair, head in hands. Hours ticked by, nurses murmuring. When they let him in, Elias lay pale against pillows, bruises blooming on his jaw. Marty, he croaked, hand outstretched. Martin took it, tears hot. Idiot. Scared me. Elias squeezed. Won't happen again. Papers signed. She's gone. The room smelled of antiseptic and possibility. Martin leaned in, forehead to Elias. Don't leave me hanging. Never. Recovery was slow, Elias sidelined, assistant coach stepping in. Martin visited daily, smuggling in contraband burgers, reading aloud from his lit textbook in a voice that drew laughs. The team rallied, Jack's organizing a care package drive, the blog post fading into irrelevance under Elias' quiet dignity. But scars lingered. One night, as snow dusted the sound view, Elias confessed deeper. The hiding. It wasn't just fear. I hid from myself too. After Tara, I thought I didn't deserve this. Martin pulled him close, heartbeat steady. You do. We do. Their lovemaking that evening was gentle, exploratory, reaffirming boundaries redrawn. Seattle winter wrapped them, but inside warmth bloomed. Spring training loomed, and with it, decisions. Martin aced his finals. Scholarship offer from UW glowing on his desk. Elias, cleared for light duty, watched him pack with pride-tinged melancholy. You'll kill it there. Martin paused, duffel half-zipped. Come with me. Off-season. We could. Elias smiled, soft. ID like that. The playoffs arrived like redemption. Elias back on the bench, whistle gleaming, Martin anchoring the court with fire reborn. The final against Spokane was epic. Overtime thriller, Martin's game winner sealing the championship. The gym erupted, confetti raining, teammates piling on. In the chaos, Elias found him, pulling him into a hug that lingered, public but chaste. Proud of you, he whispered. Martin grinned, breathless. Of us. Summer unfurled over Seattle like a tentative truce, the rare sun gilding the sound and coaxing joggers onto the Burke-Gilman Trail. Martin and Elias navigated their new normal with the caution of players reading a zone defense tentative steps forward, scanning for traps. Elias had filed the final divorce papers the week after the accident. A quiet ceremony at the courthouse downtown. Tara signing with a grace that left them both grateful and haunted. She had returned to Montana, a job transfer easing the goodbye, but her shadow lingered in Elias' occasional silences, the way heads stare at his phone as if expecting ghosts. Martin transferred to UW that fall, the Husky campus a whirlwind of lecture halls and tailgates, but he commuted the 20 minutes to Elias' apartment most nights, their routine a bomb. Mornings began with coffee on the balcony, mugs steaming as ferries cut white wakes below, conversations drifting from roster changes to Martin's poli-sci debates. Elias had taken on a part-time gig training AU kids in Bellevue. His passion reignited, and Martin tagged along sometimes, rebounding for wide-eyed teens who hung on his every word. But the hiding had carved grooves, and old habits died hard. At a team reunion barbecue in Discovery Park, Jax clapped Elias on the back too hard, sloshing his beer. So, coach, when do we meet the mystery guy who's got you smiling like that? The group laughed, but Elias tensed, joke turning knife. Martin, across the fire pit, felt the chill despite the flames. Later, in the car, he broached it. You could have said something. They know me. Elias gripped the wheel, knuckles white. It's not that simple. Jokes today, headlines tomorrow. The argument simmered low, Martin's frustration bubbling. I'm tired of shadows. If we're doing this, own it. Elias pulled over near the locks, salmon ladder churning below. I want to. God, I do. But I've lost too much before. Martin softened, hand on his thigh. Then let's build something unbreakable. Fall quarter hit like a full court press. Martin's schedule crammed with classes and pickup games. Elias coaching extending into evenings. They carved out weekends drives to the Olympics, hiking trails where pines whispered secrets, or lazy afternoons at Alki Beach, toes in sand, watching kite surfers dance the wind. Intimacy deepened, no longer frantic but exploratory. Elias tracing the freckles on Martin's shoulders with lips, Martin learning the map of scars on Elias' back from falls and fights long past. Yet conflict brewed elsewhere. Jax, ever the ally, started dating a journalism major, Lena, sharp-eyed and relentless. Over beers at the college inn, she grilled Martin casually. So you and the coach, spill the tea. Jax elbowed her, but her curiosity lingered. Texts following. Off record, promise. Just curious about the power dynamic. Martin deflected, but unease settled. Lena had a blog, niche but growing, focused on campus equity. One post veered close. Whispers of faculty-student lines blurring in athletics. Hypothetical but pointed. Elias saw it first, forwarding the link with a single emoji. Eye roll. But his voice on the call was tight. She's fishing. She's a friend of a friend, Martin soothed. It's nothing. Winter break brought Martin's family to town. A powder keg visit to the Pike Place stalls and a Huskies game. His dad, grizzled from farm work, clapped Elias on the shoulder post-game. Oblivious. Good man, you got coaching you, son. Elias smiled through it, but later, in the apartment he paced. They think I'm straight. Your dad asked about my wife. Martin pulled him down. They'll come around. Or not. But this is us. Christmas Eve. They exchanged gifts under a tree strung with lights Elias had hauled from storage. Martin unwrapped a leather-bound journal. Elias' inscription inside. For the stories only you can tell. Tears pricked. He gave Elias a custom whistle, engraved with their initials intertwined. The night culminated in lovemaking by the fire, slow and sacred, bodies sinking like a perfect pick and roll. Afterward, Elias whispered, "Marry me. Someday." Martin laughed, joy bubbling. Someday. But spring brought storms. The regional tournament loomed for Elias' AAU team, and pressure mounted. A parent complained about favoritism toward a queer kid on the roster, whispers linking back to Elias' past. The league investigated, a formality, but it dredged the old blog post, donors murmuring. Martin found him in the gym after hours, punching a bag, sweat flying. Enough, Elias growled, gloves thudding. I'm done hiding. Filed a statement today, out and proud. The words hung, brave but brittle. Martin wrapped arms around him from behind, chin on shoulder. Proud of you. The fallout was swift. A booster meeting turned hostile, one old-timer slamming the table. This isn't Montana, but it's not San Francisco either. Sponsors pulled, Elias demoted to assistant. He came home hollow, collapsing on the couch. Told them about us. About you. Martin's heart swelled, then cracked. And? They'll get over it. Or I walk. The choice loomed, a crossroads. Martin cooked that night, pasta primavera, their staple, but Elias picked at it. What if I lose everything? For us? Then we rebuild. Together. Summer again, but laced with uncertainty. Elias took a leave, applying to grad programs in sports psych, nights spent on essays while Martin interned at a local nonprofit, youth outreach for LGBTQ centers. Their bond fortified, date nights at queer-owned spots like the stranger-suggested queer poetry slams, where Elias read a piece about second chances, voice steady, Martin's hand in his under the table. but betrayal revisited in disguise. Lena published, not vicious but probing. An insider's look at athletic closets. Quotes anonymized, but details too sharp. Elias car accident, Martin's transfer timing. The piece went viral on campus Twitter, comments vicious. Grooming. Abuse. Jax called furious. She's sorry but damage done. Board wants Elias gone. The crisis peaked at a coffee shop confrontation. Lena tearful. I thought it was empowering. Voices like yours need air. Martin, flanked by Elias, voice steel. Our voices, not your narrative. She backed down, retraction promised, but the stain spread. Elias tendered resignation. The gym farewell a quiet affair. Teammates hugging him fierce. You changed the game, coach, the kid from before said, eyes bright. Alone that night, Elias broke. Curled on the bed, sobs racking. I failed you. Failed us. Martin held him, rocking. No, you fought. One evening, post-session, a teen named Riley approached. Saw your piece in the paper. Coming out as a couple. Gave me guts. Elias blinked. Paper in hand, a local feature. Soft focus on their story. We did that. Martin grinned. Yeah. Fall quarter. They moved in together, a cozy Capitol Hill walk-up. Bookshelves merging. Balcony overlooking the hill. Martin's game for the Huskies sharpened. Elias cheering from stands. No hiding now. Dates, public hands linked at Elliott Bay bookstore readings. Kisses stolen in California Anderson Park. Winter solstice under holiday lights. Elias dropped to one knee on the balcony. Ring simple silver. Martin, be my forever play? Tears yes. Laughter. They kissed as snow flurried. City aglow. The wedding was small, spring bloom. Rooftop venue with sound view. Jack's best man, speech heartfelt. To the ghost who found his anchor. Vows exchanged. Rings sliding home. Promises sealed. Years later, married, Elias adjunct professor, Martin grad student in social work. They coached a rec league, kids diverse and fierce. On anniversaries, they returned to that locker room. Door closed not in secret but memory. The hiding ended, but their story endured. A testament to love that refused cages. Autumn leaves carpeted the Capitol Hill streets in crimson and gold. A fleeting beauty before the inevitable Seattle soak. Martin and Elias' marriage had settled into its first year like a well-worn jersey, comfortable, battle-tested, with seams reinforced by trials past. Mornings found them tangled in sheets. Alarm a distant buzz drowned by lazy kisses. Coffee brewing as they planned the day. Martin, now 22, juggled grad seminars on community advocacy with part-time coaching at the youth center. His hazel eyes sharper with purpose. Elias, at 38, thrived in his adjunct role, lecturing on sports sociology to rapt undergrads, his silver-threaded hair a badge of battles won. Their home pulsed with life-potted ferns from the market, a wall of framed photos. Wedding day grins, a hike in the Cascades, the AAU championship they co-coached last summer. But beneath the domestic hum, echoes lingered, the scar of betrayal, the ache of public scrutiny. Elias still woke some nights, sheets damp, dreaming of the blog post's venom. Martin soothed him then, murmurs of "we're here" grounding him, but the vigilance remained a quiet undercurrent. The new school year brought fresh winds. Martin landed a fellowship researching queer youth in athletics, interviews with teens echoing his own guarded youth. Elias' team at UW expanded, a podcast launch on inclusivity drawing sponsors. They celebrated with dim sum at a hidden spot in the ID, steam rising from bamboo baskets as they clinked Tsingdaos. To chapters closing, Elias toasted. An opening, Martin added, foot hooking Elias under the table. But conflict stirred in subtle waves. Jax, now engaged to Lena, redeemed through therapy and a joint apology, invited them to a dinner party, her eyes earnest over vegan tacos. I was wrong. Let me make it up. Elias accepted, stiff but civil. Forgiveness is a muscle, he told Martin later, over dishes. Use it or lose it. The party was a cross-section of Seattle creative. Artists, coders, a drag queen spinning yarns. Conversation flowed to politics. The city's progressive veneer cracking under national tides. One guest, a reporter for The Stranger, probed gently. Your story inspired my piece on sports closets. Any advice? Elias smiled, hand finding Martin's. Be unapologetic. Love loud. The warmth lingered, but driving home, Elias tensed. What if it backfires again? Martin squeezed his knee. It won't. We've built walls. Winter crept in, holidays a whirlwind. Martin's family visited, his dad thawing over turkey, toasting the grooms with a gruff cheers to happiness. Elias' mom flew from Portland, a widow softening into acceptance, her hug fierce. New Year's, they rang in on the balcony, fireworks blooming over the needle, resolutions whispered. More adventures, deeper trust. Spring brought bloom and burden. Martin's research hit a wall, a participant dropping out after parental pressure, reigniting old fears. Elias' podcast episode on betrayal in relationships drew hate mail, slurs in comments. They leaned in, therapy sessions bi-weekly, unpacking layers. The counselor, a soft-spoken woman named Greer, challenged. Betrayal isn't the end. It's the forge. One session, Elias admitted, I still check my ex's socials. Habit. Martin nodded, no judgment. And I still flinch at anonymous texts. Vulnerability bonded them tighter. Date nights, intentional poetry at Hugo House, where Elias read sonnets, Martin's pride swelling. Summer road trip south, RV rumbling through Oregon wine country, then California coast. They camped at Big Sur, stars blanketing, bonfire crackling as they shared stories Elias' Montana boyhood, fishing with dad. Martin's farm summers, hiding crushes in haylofts. Lovemaking under redwoods, urgent and tender, reaffirming. Back home, crisis crested unexpectedly. Elias got an offer head coach at a private academy in Bellevue, full-time, benefits. But the board whispered reservations, old rumors resurfacing via a disgruntled alum. The meeting was a gauntlet, suits in a conference room, questions veiled as concerns. Your personal life. It sets an example. Elias stood tall. It does. One of authenticity. They offered anyway probationary. He took it, but doubt gnawed. That night, over takeout pho, he vented. Am I chasing ghosts? Martin set down chopsticks. You're chasing you. The man I married. Fall again. Elias' first season rocky. Losses piling as team gelled slow. Martin attended games, cheering from bleachers, but post-loss huddles left Elias drained. One evening, he snapped over a misplaced key. Sorry, Elias muttered, sinking to the couch. Pressure. Martin knelt before him, hands on knees. Talk. It poured out, the board watching, parents side-eyeing, a player quitting citing discomfort. Feels like backsliding. Martin cupped his face. Then lean on me. On us. They rallied, Elias inviting Martin to guest speak on resilience, team thawing. Wins followed, chemistry clicking. Thanksgiving, family gathered, tensions eased. Martin's sister, visiting from Chicago, pulled him aside. He's good for you. Steady. He is. Winter break. A getaway to Leavenworth, Bavarian village, snow-dusted. They skied clumsily, laughter echoing, hot cocoa steaming. In the cabin, fire lit, Elias proposed a vow renewal intimate. Just them. Yes, Martin breathed, rings exchanged anew. But betrayal revisited, insidious. An email from Tara, innocuous. Congrats on the promotion. Saw it online. Happy for you both. But attached, a photo old, them young, arms linked. Nostalgia or knife. Elias deleted it, but the seed sprouted. Why now? He wondered aloud. Martin hugged him. Let it die. Spring playoffs, Elias' team surged. Finals against rivals. The game was epic, Martin's heart in throat from the stands. Buzzer-beater win, confetti chaos, Elias hoisted by players. Post-game party, toasts flowed. Parent approached, hand extended. Thank you. My son came out last week. Because of you. Elias teared up, Martin beaming beside. Summer, they honeymooned Hawaii, waves lapping, sunsets painting. Reclined on beach, Elias murmured, no more hiding. Martin kissed his temple. Never again. Years layered, Children via surrogacy twins. A boy and girl with Elias curls, Martin's freckles. Family hikes. Bedtime stories of courage. Martin published his thesis, book deal following. Elias rose to D1 assistant out advocate. On their 10th anniversary, back in that locker room, now a museum piece at the old college they stood, door closed. Remember? Elias asked. How could I forget? Martin replied, pulling him close. You opened it all. Their kiss echoed, timeless. A story etched in hearts, unyielding. The twins turned 5 under a canopy of cherry blossoms. Seattle spring rioting in pink petals that danced like confetti on the wind. Martin and Elias' backyard buzzed with chaos controlled. Kids shrieking on a bounce house. Jax manning the grill with Lena, their toddler wreaking pint-sized havoc. Elias chased their daughter, Lila, around the picnic table, her giggles high and wild, while their son, Theo, clung to Martin's leg, hazel eyes wide with wonder at the magician pulling coins from ears. At 34, Martin wore fatherhood like a favorite cap backward, easy and endearing, laugh lines deepening around his eyes. Elias, 46 now, moved with the deliberate grace of a veteran coach, gray fully claimed at his temples, but his smile when he scooped Lila up was boyish, unscarred. Their life had woven into a tapestry rich with threads. The book tour for Martin's memoir on queer athletics, Elias' keynote at national conferences, family vacations to Yellowstone where the kids marveled at geysers. The apartment had upgraded to a craftsman in Fremont, troll sculpture guarding the bridge nearby, walls alive with drawings and trophies. But anniversaries brought reflection, and the 15th found them reflective. Over anniversary dinner at Canlis, view of the lights twinkling, Elias raised his glass. To surviving the long game. Martin clinked, but his smile faltered. Lately, Elias set down the wine. The book reviews, some cut deep. Martin's memoir, Out of Bounds, had launched to acclaim, but detractors called it exploitative, dredging the coach-player dynamic. Online trolls revived old slurs, petitions circling for UW to distance from Elias' role in it. This noise, Martin soothed. We've weathered worse. Elias nodded, but doubt flickered. Have we? The kids. What if it touches them? Theo and Lila were blissfully unaware. Their world castles in the living room and bedtime tales of Daddy's team that always won. But school loomed, kindergarten in fall, and with it the world's sharper edges. Summer idyll shattered mid-July. Elias' phone rang during a family picnic at Green Lake. Number unfamiliar. He stepped away, voice low, returning ashen. That was the academy. Board revoking my contract. Conflict of interest, they said. Your book. Martin froze, sandwich halfway to mouth. What? Elias explained, terse. Alums complaining. Say it glamorizes impropriety. The word landed like a flagrant foul. They packed up early, kids sensing tension in the silence. Lila asking why Daddy Elias sad. In the car, Theo asleep in his booster, Martin seethed. Sue them. Elias shook head. Not worth it. He'll land elsewhere. But landing proved rocky. Interviews dried, whispers preceding. Martin pulled strings, but doors slammed. Financial strain crept. Martin's book royalties steady but not windfall. Adjunct pay meager. August brought heat wave, tempers flaring. One night, after Theo meltdown over bedtime, Elias snapped at Martin. You write our story like it's triumph. Ever think of the cost? Martin recoiled, dishes clattering. It's our truth. Yours too. Elias stormed to the balcony, city hum mocking. I hid for a reason. This exposure. This poison. The fight escalated. Words like shrapnel. Selfish, regret, too public. Martin slept on couch. Dawn light harsh. Morning, coffee bitter. Lila toddled in, drawing in hand. Daddy's happy. They reconciled tentative, hugs and sorries, but fracture lingered. Labor Day, kindergarten drop-off. Theo clung, tears streaming. Elias knelt, wiping cheeks. Brave like your old man. But Elias' own bravery wavered. Job hunt dragged, rejections piling like losses. He took freelance consulting, but pride stung. Martin suggested hiatus, write his own book. Elias laughed hollow. Who wants the villain's side? You're no villain. Fall quarter, Martin taught intro seminar. Students hungry for narratives. One evening, a kid named Kai lingered. Your story saved me. Came out last week. Martin teared, hugging him. That's the win. Home he shared, but Elias distant, scrolling job boards. Then the call came October. An old colleague from Montana. Head coach opening. Discreet. They don't care about. Pass. Elias hung up, torn. Home soil. Fresh start. Martin heart sank. With us? Of course. But the pull was magnetic, ghosts calling. Visit planned. Family road trip east. Cascades blurring to plains. Montana unfolded rugged. Mountains cradling valleys. Elias' hometown a cluster of brick and barns. His dad greeted gruff, farm-worn, but eyes soft on grandkids. The job interview at the high school gym felt like time loop, Elias pacing same court of youth. Offer extended, generous. They shook on it, bored nodding. Your story? One said. Makes you real. Elias accepted. Voice steady. We move. Martin nodded, but uprooting Seattle their roots, the center, friends felt amputation. Packing frenzy, kids confused. Lila asking why no more troll. Jax helped load truck, hug fierce. Montana's queer as a foot. But you two? Unstoppable. Winter in Big Sky brutal. Snow blanketing the ranch-style house Elias' dad gifted. Martin remote taught, adjuncting online but isolation bit. No pride parades. Just church steeples and sidelong looks at the grocery. Elias coached fierce. Team responding. But whispers followed. The city boy. The one from the book. One night, after a win, parent meeting turned ugly. A dad cornered Elias. That lifestyle around my boy? Elias fired back. Calm fire. It's love. Teach tolerance or leave. The man backed down, but poison spread. Vandalism followed. Fags scrawled on truck. Martin found Elias scrubbing at dawn, hands raw. This is why I left. Then stay gone, Martin wanted to say, but held tongue. Instead, family therapy via Zoom, Greer voice steady. Roots bend, don't break. Spring thaw brought bloom. Elias teamed to state. Martin's book club local, women hungry for stories. Kids adapted. Theo scoring goals. Lila befriending ranch horses. But crisis peaked May. School board hearing on the incident. Elias testified. Martin beside. Kids with sitter. Room packed, air thick. He spoke raw. I hid once. Cost me everything. Won't again. Board cleared him, standing ovation from allies. Outside, Elias exhaled. We did it. Martin kissed him, public, unashamed. Yeah. Summer, they summered Seattle, visiting Jax, kayaking sound. Renewal vows under Olympic's shadow, rings polished. Fall, second season, Elias undefeated. Martin started local chapter, queer youth group, teens flocking. Years flowed, kids growing Theo basketball star, Lila artist. Martin tenured remotely, Elias legend coach. 20th anniversary. Back Seattle, hotel overlooking bay. Dinner, then walk to old apartment, now strangers. Door closed in memory, they toasted, to hiding no more. Love, eternal play. Decades layered like sedimentary rock. Martin's life at 54 a palimpsest of joys and scars. Each marking time with quiet profundity. Montana had become home. The plains' vast canvas for their family saga. The house expanded. Additions for grandkids' visits. Garden bursting with Lila heirloom tomatoes. Elias, 66, retired coaching last year. Trading whistle for fly rod. Days on the Madison River casting lines with Theo, now 30. A physical therapist in Bozeman with his husband and their rescue dog. Lila, 25, artist in Missoula. Her murals gracing queer centers. Partner a poet with ink-stained fingers. Martin chaired the state's LGBTQ advocacy board, white hair cropped short, hazel eyes still piercing, lecturing at MSU on resilience narratives. Their marriage, 35 years strong, was legend local paper profiles. Podcast cameos, but intimacy remained private. Mornings with coffee and crosswords. Evenings walks where hands linked natural as breath. But age brought new shadows. Elias' knee, old injury, ached in winters, morning stiff. Health scare last fall, irregular heartbeat, stents placed, Martin pacing ER like that long-ago hospital vigil. Clean now, but vigilance returned, annual checkups ritual. Spring conference in Seattle pulled them west, excuse to revisit roots. Plane ride, Elias window seat, marveling at clouds. Remember our first flight? Post-wedding, Hawaii. Martin smiled, hand on his. Turbulence and all. City embraced them, Jack's hosting dinner, his kids grown. Lena retired editor. Toasts to survival. Laughter echoing, old hurts healed. Conference keynote, Martin spoke to packed hall. Love isn't absence of storm. It's the anchor in it. Elias in front row, pride luminous. After walk to old gym, now community center. Door creaked open, familiar scent of polish and promise. They stood center court, ghosts whispering. Closed the door that day, Elias murmured. Changed everything. Martin pulled him close. Best call. Back Montana. Summer idle grandkids arriving. Chaos joyful. 4-year-old Nora demanded stories. Martin spinning tales of city coaches and rainy secrets. Elias barbecued. Stories of state titles, eyes twinkling. But autumn brought whisper of loss. Elias' dad passed, quiet in sleep, farm auction bittersweet. Eulogy, Elias' voice cracked. He taught me strength. I taught him love. Martin held his hand, pulpit firm. Winter solstice, annual renewal under strung lights, vows updated, through aches and adventures. Spring, health check, Elias clear, but Martin noticed tremor in hand, subtle. Neurologist appointment, early Parkinson's whisper. News landed soft but heavy. Elias joked, he'll coach from the bench. Martin researched support groups, trials. Crisis crested summer. Flare-up. Elias unsteady at family reunion. Theo stepped in, exercises gentle. Lila painted a mural for his study strength symbols. Elias confided one night, stars overhead. Afraid it'll burden. Martin fierce. You're my light. Always. Fall, they traveled Yellowstone, adaptive hikes, geysers steaming defiance. Elias' voice steady. This body carried us. Grateful. Healing communal Theo family moved closer. Lila weekly art therapy. Martin wrote sequel, Elias forward. Our unfinished game. Winter, first snow, grandkids building forts. Elias joined, slow but smiling. Nora asked, Grandpa, tell the door story. Elias glanced Martin, eyes deep. Once, a boy helped after practice. Coach closed door, shared soul. Rest is our epic. Martin teared, hugging. And the win. Years softened edges, Elias tremor managed. Martin silver fully. Lecturing less, gardening more. 50th birthday, Montana gathering, speeches heartfelt. Toast, Jack's via video. To the hook that landed the keeper. Elias rose, glass high to Martin. My practice, my game, my heart. Kiss amid cheers, timeless. Later, alone, balcony view of plains, Elias whispered. No regrets? Martin smiled. None. Hid once. Lived forever. Their embrace, under vast sky, story complete circle of love, unyielding, human. The end came not in thunderclap, but the gentle hush of a river at dusk, willows trailing fingers in the current. Elias at 72, Martin 64. Their days measured in sunsets over the ranch, bodies slower but spirits unbowed. Parkinson's progressed measured. Elias Kane a familiar companion, voice soft but stories sharp. Martin adapted seamlessly, home ramps and adaptive garden. Their love a quiet symphony. Grandkids filled summers Nora, 10, aspiring coder. Her brother Finn, 8, soccer phenom. Lila great with child. Theo dad twice over. Family lore the door story evolved, bedtime staple. And they lived bravely ever after. Spring conference last, Martin keynoting remotely, Elias beside, hand in his. Q&A, question on longevity. Secrets? Martin grinned. Trust. And a good lock. Laughter rippled. Summer heat wave, Elias weakened. Hospital stay dehydration. But discharge with home care. Martin vigilant, but Elias waved it off. Live, don't hover. Autumn harvest. Lila baby born girl, Elara, namesake strength. Elias held her, eyes misting. Cycle. Winter gripped early, snow blanketing. Holiday, full house, carols and chaos. Elias tired sooner, but join tree trimming, ornament each memory. Hawaii shell, Montana trout fly. New Year's, balcony, fireworks distant. Elias leaned Martin. Best half-century. Martin kissed forehead. More coming. But February chill deepened. Elias flu turned pneumonia. Hospital again, monitors beeping, family rotating. Martin never left. Chair vigil, hand clasped. Theo whispered, he's fighter. Lila nodded, tears. Like always. Elias rallied brief, home hospice, ranch view. Stories flowed, visitors regaled. Jacks flown in, tales of old parties. Old teammates, championship yarns. One evening, sunset gilding room, Elias beckoned Martin close. Door again, he murmured. This time, opening wide. Martin throat tight. Not yet. Elias smiled, weak. Go through together. Love you. Always. Martin nodded, tears falling. And I you. My coach. My all. He slipped away dawn. River murmuring farewell. Martin holding till last breath. Grief tsunami, world gray. Martin wandered plains. Kane now his memories anchors. Funeral simple. Courtside gym. Eulogies heartfelt. Theo. Dad taught victory in vulnerability. Lila. Painted our truths. Martin spoke last. Elias opened door to me. To us. His legacy. Love without locks. Months blurred. Seasons turning. Martin wrote final chapter. Epilogue. The hiding ended. The living endured. Spring, cherry blooms. Martin scattered ashes by river, willows witness. Nora asked, Grandpa happy? Always, Martin said. With Grandma Elias stories. Summer, family picnic, laughter rising. Martin watched, heart full ache. Door memory now portal, not prison. He lived on, advocating grandkids coach. Love eternal echo. In quiet moments, balcony, he whispered to stars. Game well played. The human arc bent toward light. Their story testament. From hidden glance to legacy love, unbroken.